Hello and welcome to Studio 2, where I am about to show you how to use Adobe Audition and Multitrack to kind of do an acts and tracks. Okay, so starting off, let's say there's not enough time in studio and you've only managed to get 10 minutes, or you actually have all your tracks in a folder somewhere like I would have. This is how you can do your show fairly quickly. I would say you need to be organised when you're doing this though. So for starters, let's say you have done your voiceover. Now, I would never just go straight into doing my voiceover. I'd always have a list of something in front of me, but let's have a look and see. So this is a voiceover that I've done here. Hello and welcome to Lovesick. I'm sick of the sound of my own voice, but there she is anyway. So when I'm scripting my show, I might actually do something like this. Let's see, I've got an image here. So this would be an example of how I'd organise my show. I'd have a list of all the tracks I'm playing. I might have screen grabbed it or something. Here's the marks where I decide I'm going to do a bit of talk. And you can see here I've written notes next to it, so I'm not just making stuff up on the spot. For today's demonstration, I'm going to be using this one here. We're not going to be doing a whole entire show, but we'll be doing a bit of one. So there we go. Cool. Kill that one there. So back to Audition. Here's my links. So I started off. Hello and welcome to Lovesick on Flirt FM 101.3. And so that's me doing my show. I just kept going as if the songs were playing in between. And I obviously made a mistake somewhere here. So what's that? Released, of course. Okay, so after this, we're consummate professional. I presume I started my link again for link 2. So welcome back to the show. I did, yes, cool. So basically all of this in between is kind of fluff. Now, something I do instead of just leaving that as it is, I would normally, you could delete this and that would be fine, and I'd know that there's a gap in between, that's okay. But something that I do for finding where you need to insert music later in an easier way, as I go up to Generate Silence, and I'll pick 5 seconds of silence. You can see 5 seconds there, and there's a nice clean bit of silence in between. And at the start, I'm pressing the home key to do this. And by the way, if you're wondering about all of the shortcut keys I'm using, because I do use shortcut instead of menu keys, they're all printed out on green laminated paper in the editing suite just right in front of you. So I'm going to keep editing through and make sure that all of this sounds okay. Just subscribe and get everything. Okay, so you don't need to hear all this. Here's one I've made earlier. Yay! Hello and welcome to Lovesick on Flirt. Okay, so there she is again. So you'll notice a subtle difference, not so subtle difference. It's a lot louder. So what did I do there? So after I'd edited all this, I run something called, and that's Control All there, I run something called a Classic Softening. It's in favourites in most of the computers, but if it's not been saved as a favourite, Classic Softening is in Effects, Amplitude and Compression, Dynamics Processing, and it is under Classic Softening. So what that does is it just takes all of the parts of your speech that are your voice, and kind of disregards subsonic rumbles and stuff that's a little bit louder, and it kind of just smooths them out. This is especially helpful if you've got 2 people in studio that are a tiny bit different in volume, but not totally. So smoothed out a bit there, and then that's a little bit quiet for going over music, so I'll always do this. Now, you should try and have your levels to a decent level. You don't have to do the compression, but under favourites here, hard limiting, +3 or +6, I'm going to go with +6 because right now this is running around about -9 here. You can see where the hand is, and I want to get it closer to the line but not over the line. So I'm going to go to Effects, Amplitude and Compression, which is just a fancy sounding name for basically volume, and we've got hard limiting, so I'm going to go to hard limiting, and this is a long-winded way of doing it, so you can choose whatever you like. -1, 6. I normally change it to -2 because we don't want it quite going up to the line, and we will give that a go, and I'll go for the whole lot. And right, so applying hard limiting to selection, taking its time. You're going to hear a lot of me going doop-de-doop-de-doop. I may cut this. Cool. Okay, so that's more like this version here where I have it edited. So I've got link 1, 2, 3. So this is all link 3, but that's because I'm doing a gig listing in that one, and this is kind of my outro link at the end. So got that ready to go. Pretty cool. Next up, we're going to go into Multitrack. So before we go into Multitrack, I am going to have all the tracks imported and ready to go. So I'm going to go into File and Open. And once you've imported them once, you don't have to do it again. So I've got my music saved in a lovely folder called the date and everything. So however you have your MP3s, you might buy them off Bandcamp or whatever it might be. I'm going to go back to my sheet of paper. I'm not actually going to import all of them because that would take a little bit long, but I am going to go with the first couple of tracks. I'm going to go with the Walkman, Ultramont, Terza, King Cruel, Mac Miller, and the one from Barley Stick there. So I'm just going to import the first 6 so it doesn't take too long. So those are working away there in the background, so you'll see them importing. And once you have this done, you never have to do it again. There's another couple of bits and pieces that I might need later on, but we'll just import those as we go. Okay, so, and one more. Cool. Okay, so now we have our tracks ready to go, and I've got my list here, so I know what's going on. So I'm going to click on Multitrack, and this might be the first time some of you have done this. So you start assembling your show like a jigsaw. Now I know at the start of every show I've got my intro music, so I'm going to go to Insert Audio, and I'm going to go and find, it might be down here. It actually is, that's great, but if you want to go find it the long way around, you can go to Music Store, Jingles, you'll be well used to this after a while, Music Nights, and I've got my intro and all my jingles left there. So I've got show openers. So I'm going to go for Wednesday Lovesick opener. There she is, ready to go.
Nice.
Lovesick on Flirt FM. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
I'm using plus and minus to skip in and out, and Studio 2 computers having a conniption as a result. So I am going to scroll out because we're going to put in our first song. I always start off with a piece of music. So our first song tonight is going to be The Walkman The Rat, and it starts fairly abruptly, so we're going to figure out where to put this. Now, you'll see what I'm doing here. I'm actually just moving it around to decide where I like it. I'll tell you a little bit more about this cursor. Sometimes it's stuck on this. This is the, and you'll see it's Move Copy Clip tool. And if you're ever wondering what something is in Adobe Audition, you can just hover over it and it'll tell you. All that really does is just moves the clip around, and you can kind of select here, kind of select that way, but it won't let you actually choose time. So what you want to do is go to the hybrid, which is much quicker, where it will let you select time. Let you select time on this one here as well. But if you right click, it'll also let you move your files around, which is really, really handy. So the reason this is so good, this is non-destructive editing. What I've done with editing my voiceover, I've actually snipped out bits of it and changed it fundamentally. I've taken out all the mistakes. But for when it comes to music and jingles and stuff, you just want to add them in, but you don't necessarily need to edit them. So I'll have a listen to this. And to explain non-destructive editing, if I chopped out a bit here, delete, that bit of the song is gone. I'm going to Control Z to undo it. Go back to Multitrack. If you, for instance, wanted to take away that bit of a song for whatever reason, I'd highlight it, go delete. But magically, if you scroll back out again there, the rest of the song is still there. It's just a bookmark to that. So you can fade in and out, you can like delete stuff, and it's all still there, which is really, really handy. And this is what you use predominantly for making jingles, putting together a music show, or doing a documentary especially. You can save this session at the end, which we're going to do as well, and you can come back to it and add stuff in or change stuff later. So we'll start off now. Have a listen. Okay, winding out. So what I think I'm going to do, it kind of jars a little bit with that weird bit of music on my show opener. So I'm actually just going to fade this out. I'll actually repeat what I've done there. So see this little toggle here? It's pretty rad. You can fade in and out. You can kind of go up and down to make it fade in and out quicker. And I'm going to drag this. When you see this little arrows there, it's kind of nearly like on Microsoft Word when you're trying to make the borders wider or the margins wider or narrower. So I'm going to fade this out, but I'm going to drag it down to fade it out quick. And then we'll have a listen, because I don't think it works with this song, so we need to get rid of it. So we'll have a play again. So I'm just hitting spacebar. Much better. Okay. Now, because we're doing this, we don't actually need to listen to the whole song. I'm just going to go to the end. When I click on this and I put something else in, it kind of likes to snap to that cursor. So I'm going to throw in my voiceover edited. Cool. There it is. Using right click to drag it up along. You see, it kind of likes to click to that. So we'll go in and have a bit more of a look there. Then I'm going to need some background music. So I'm going to insert audio, and I know what background music I want. I'm going to go back to, it's handy that it's kind of just sitting here waiting for me. I'm going to use Romero. This is going to take a little while to import because it's a 7-minute track. Cool. It is done. Now we'll start off and have a listen. I would advise as well, when you're inserting stuff, don't go right the way down the tracks, because if you do, you end up having all of these right down here, and it's very difficult to see. It's much, much easier to see if you actually just keep them on the same 2 or 3 tracks and just keep going up and down. You can see the files a lot better. So I'm going to start here. Move it a little bit out. Hello and welcome to Lovesick. So the first thing you hear there is, that is a little bit loud underneath me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit This one here in the middle, this is, if you click that, that pans left and right. Don't know why you want that, but this is the important one up at the top. This is the volume control. And if you click on it, it'll tell you that it is, there we go, it's on plus 0 decibels. So that's fine. So we're going to minus it. If you click again on the line, that creates a new little dot called a spline. And I can actually visually represent how I want the music to go down. Now, it may be that the start is just too loud anyway, so I might just bring this down a bit and this down a bit, and now you can hear the difference. I may need to bring it down even more, but we'll have a listen. Hello and welcome to Lovesick on Much better this time. Okay, despite the fact it's my voice in the background. Shh, Paula. Right, so you've got this done. You've decided what level you want your background music at. It could get a bit fiddly, but something that I found to do recently is take your two pieces, and if you go control and click on this one, go back into Multitrack. If you control and click on this one, and control and click on that one, and you go right click, you can just do Control G or group the clips, and now these will stay together for as long as you're moving them around. But better still, when you go to the end of your piece and you're fading out, and now you'll see why I put in the 5 seconds of silence as well. Message box on flirtfm.ie, that's my favourite. Okay, we'll talk to you in a few. Okay, so cool. If I go and use one of my favourite controls ever, it is split, Control K. So handy. Now, when I've got my background music, I can actually bring this out to the 5 seconds there, and I can have it faded in, ready to go for the next link. And also, do you see this? It actually, the fade works on both of them, so it's really handy. So I'll actually go straight ahead like this, or use the message box on flirtfm.ie. That's my... And you know what? Like, the best thing is as well, I think I might even take this down a bit more, because the song got a little bit louder as we went. 433-1013, tweet at flirtfm, or use the message box on flirtfm.ie. And you'll notice I use something that doesn't have vocals in the background. So that's already your first link with a bit of background music done. Great. So next up, we've got Outremont, a little bit of Irish music, just came out, new album this week. I've noticed with this track, there's like a big long intro on the end of it, which is fine if you want to play it, but so I'm gonna check my segues and see how the transition goes. Okay, we'll talk to you in a few. I could come in there earlier, I think. Might bring it in earlier. Cool. Fair enough. Now this is the bit where it kind of has a wig out. And that is fine, but I actually have too many songs to go into my show, so I'm actually just going to crop it up to the end where the actual it stops before the outro. We'll have a look at this. We'll go back to our track here, and so it's just going to start in that fade out. That's fine, but we want to fade it out so it doesn't just stop abruptly at the end. That sounds a bit rubbish, doesn't it, if it stops abruptly at the end? So we've got a couple of different options. You can do this, which is great, and then fade out. Or you could do that, which is a fade out as well. So it goes quickly. But while I'm here, I might as well show you something that I think is really exciting, kind of cool, because I'm a nerd. Okay, so if we right click, we take the end of the song, right click, and this is lovely. It is fade envelope across selection. You can try these different ones. Linear is just a straight line. Logarithmic does one thing, it just kind of swoops out. Sinusoidal is the most fun, because imagine trying to do this in real time by doing all those dots and pushing them in exactly the right place. You wouldn't bother, so it sounds really nice and swoopy. So it's a nice soft swoop. So nearly like the song was ending that way anyway. And then I'm going to put in my next piece of music, which is Terza. And you'll see again, it'll kind of click to this. It likes to click to that. We'll have a listen. Might leave it another little bit longer. And this is when you get to finesse it. Happy enough with that there. You don't want it to completely start before and after. And then just skip through the song. You don't need to listen to the rest of it unless there's swearing in it. And that is for a later video. I'm going to show you how to deal with that. And then I am going to go for my next track, which is going to be King Cruel, Cellular. And then we'll pop that there. Have a listen. Do you know what might be nice to put in here as well? A jingle. So we're going to insert audio, and I'm going to go get one of my jingles. And fortunately, it's just up here. I've saved them. And if you've got any jingles or any of the ones that pertain to your show, but you've got your promos, you've got your jingles, and I have got music nights. I save mine in there. So I might go.
Lovesick on Flirt FM.
Avant-garde. Lovesick on Flirt.
I'll go with her. Yeah, grand. So we'll have a listen.
Lovesick on Flirt FM. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Yeah, why not? Grand, cool. So I've got that, and then I'm going to drop in my next piece of audio here. So there we go. So that's coming back into the show. And I'm not going to keep repeating this. You can kind of just like repeat as you go. Hitting Control K, I'll delete the rest of that there. And we can fade out and maybe just add in a last track. So imagine this is a very quick way of doing your show. We're going to throw this in here, and I'm going to go and insert the next one, which was going to be, after that, I think was going to be Mac Miller. So I'll throw that in as well. And this can be your, like, effectively your outro piece of music. Have a listen. Okay, so you just kind of keep doing that until you go. Then, what do you do afterwards? Well, you go to Edit, Mix Down to New File, Master Output and Session. There we go. And while that's mixing down, I'll tell you another couple of tricks. So, you can try matching beats when you're mixing stuff in and out. Try to time stuff when you expect, when a song finishes, to put in the next song when you expect the next beat of the last song to go to. Sounds good. And last track, you can fade it out. And when another thing we're going to do as well is when you're pre-recording shows, if it's a special edition or something, if it's like a Christmas show or it's very specific to the time of year, it's always good to put in brackets afterwards that it is a special show, so that whenever you're doing it, you don't accidentally end up playing a Christmas show on St. Patrick's Day. But that's basically it for now. That's the first one of these. I'm going to do follow-up videos on how to edit out swearing out of songs, and then the next one I've got planned as well is going to be how to make a jingle. But for now, I think that's enough, and hopefully this has been helpful to you. Any second now. There she is. Perfect. Okay, so the last bit we have to do, we've seen there's no gaps, the levels all look good, we're happy to go. File, save as, and you should be used to this at this point. So I'm going to pop up to my show folder, and I'm going to go to Wednesday nights in my instance here, Lovesick, and then I'm going to call it 20200304 Lovesick. And like I was saying just before, I'm going to type in test. There we go. And I always check to make sure it's saving as MP3. Yes, it is. Options. Is it saving at 320? Cool. Okay. And okay. Go away. And save. And there we go. So that's saving away in the background. I'm going to overwrite that. So I'm going to save this as 20200304 Lovesick. And as I said before, it's a test, so I'm going to put that in just to let people know it is just a test. So, brackets, TEST, cool, save. Just check it's saving on MP3. It is. Is it saving at 320? Absolutely is. Okay, cool. Save. So it's going to save away there. I'll probably skip through this when I've got the video editing. And that is your show done and ready to go. Now it's an MP3. It's saved in your folder. Bingo.